Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with true heel heat wrestling. Holla at me.
Hello everyone, it's the hardcore legend Mick Foley wishing a nice day to everyone there, right there at True Heel Heat. Yeah!
Hello. It is me, your True Heel Phenom SP3. And we are back again with another pay-per-view PLE review. This time talking all about WWE NXT Battleground 2025 from Tampa, Florida. I am riding solo for this pay-per-view PLE review. Yes, it is me on my own, battled to the ground to talk all about NXT Battleground. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching this on the premiere, if you're watching this on demand, I appreciate you as well. Show your appreciation back. The simplest way possible is by dropping the thumbs up on this video. You can share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the True Heel Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. And of course, you could sound off in the live chat if you're watching us on the premiere. If you're watching us on demand, most of all, comment down below. Let me know what you thought about NXT WWE Battleground. Give me your score out of 10. If you gave the show thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, your MVP, your LVP, and match of the night. Following this review, at the end of the review, I will give you all my scores for this show. And I thought this was overall a very fun show. My one word, one phrase for this show is enjoyable, but also very much inconsequential until the main event. The main event is where really we got a big, noteworthy, newsworthy moment. And the moment that everybody's going to remember from this show wasn't the best match on the show. Something else was the best match on the show, but definitely was the biggest moment from this show and how this show is going to be remembered long term with the TNA World Championship defended on a WWE PLE for the first time and actually headlining the show. That's a big deal. And that was significant as well. So you gotta big it up for WWE for doing such a thing that not a lot of us thought was even possible a year and a half ago at all. But let's get into the show without further ado. This show took place from the Yuengling Center in Tampa, Florida. I thought the crowd was hot. I thought the crowd was really good for Saturday night's main event. I thought they were even better for NXT Battleground. WWE NXT premium live events just have a feel and an energy to them. The crowd is just trying their most to kind of give these younger performers the opportunity to have showcase moments and the best matches of their career. And they really give a certain amount of energy that is very reminiscent to the old NXT takeover crowds to these NXT premium live event, especially over like 2024 into especially the beginning of 2025. I think all the crowds have been really good for NXT premium live events, with this one probably being one of the loudest as well. And they were loud right from the start, including our opening matchup, which was Ruka defending the NXT Women's North American Championship against Jordynne. Of course, Sol had Zarya in her corner. She came out on a skateboard and also came out on Zarya's shoulders. Jordynne coming out with the braids instead of her afro look that she's been having as of late. And these two women tore it up and had a show-stealing performance at Heatwave, and they went out here, and this was the right choice to open the show. They have very fast-paced, athletic showcase between one another, and right from the opening bell, that's what they did. Very fast-paced, action-packed sequence between the two with flips and skillful dodges aplenty. Ruka offered a hand to Jordynne, basically saying like, respect your gangster, I respect your athleticism. But then they followed up with Ruka putting Jordynne down and doing her surfboard stance on top of Jordynne's back. Ruka caught Jordynne in an STF momentarily before the challenger made it to the ropes. Ruka cartwheeled over Jordynne and hit a super kick. The stalling suplex from Soul was followed up by a modified moonsault as the two started exchanging covers on one another. Jordynne wriggled out of an attempted Samoan drop by Soul and turned it into a crucifix bomb for a 2 count. Jordynne took advantage by stopping an attempted surfboard dive from Ruka to clip her foe. Jordynne then slammed Soul with a spinning modified Samoan drop, which looked really cool, but Soul was able to kick out once again. We get a single leg crab working over the back by Jordynne and managed to keep Ruka grounded for a bit, but Soul was able to escape. Soul was hitting some big kicks plenty in this matchup and just using her speed while Kalani was keeping up for her pace for pace. On the apron, Ruka leaped up to the top rope and hit an impressive avalanche X Factor onto Kalani that ended up being a rough landing for both women. Ruka began to pick up a couple of some steam with a running slam and then a knee to the face. Jordynne responded, scurried to the apron and caught Soul with a kick as she then dragged her to the apron. A kick from Jordynne sent Soul to the floor as the feisty challenger responded with a springboard diving moonsault. We get Jordynne tried a dive from the top rope, but Soul was able to catch her and then delivered a modified backstabber with her feet instead of her knees, which was really cool. The innovative Soul then soared with an impressive diving moonsault over the top rope. Ruka then appeared to be attempting her take on the Zarya's zone of destruction, but Jordynne was able to counter that and then hit a beautiful looking 5-star frog splash, only getting the 2 count. Both Ruka and Jordynne found themselves up to the top rope with Jordynne doing a poison Rana, but Soul landed on her feet in her Will Ospreay impersonation there and then killed Jordynne with a big spear, but Jordynne was able to kick out at 2. The crowd was on fire at this point. We get an interesting sequence where Kalani goes for her one-of-a-kind moonsault, but Zarya pulls Ruka out of harm's way, which really was the deciding factor in this matchup. The referee saw Zarya doing this, so she ejected her from ringside. Soul was very confused why Zarya would do that. She headed to the top rope once more, but Jordynne was able to cut her off, but then she kicks Jordynne back. She hits a beautiful super soul catcher from the top rope. 1, 2, 3. Soul Ruka retained the NXT Women's North American Championship in an absolute barn burner. This was an awesome matchup. These two women went out there, had a hot opener. The crowd was so invested. They just have undeniable chemistry. A lot of people have been calling them wrestling soulmates. And between the match at Heatwave and this one right here, it's very hard to deny that. The Soul Snatcher is one of the most exciting and thrilling finishing moves in all of WWE today. And I love the fact that Soul is able to come up with different innovations to it, like doing it from the top rope, which was really cool here. So I got to give this match 4 stars. There's not a lot of psychology in the little points that would kind of raise this to be even better. But as far as like an athletic agility showcase between two women, there ain't two better on the NXT Women's Division to have that type of matchup, quite like Soul Ruka and Kalani Jordynne. This was a sublime choice as the opener to the show because the crowd was hot. They were invested into all the cool moves and innovative offense and reversals and counters between the two, and their chemistry is just off the charts. So 4 stars and a great opener to the show. NXT General Manager Ava is actually meeting with AAA's Dallas and Chick Tormenta before we went to a backstage interview with TNA star Mike Santana. Love seeing Mike Santana, a little pop as well from the live crowd. We also saw Fatal Influence in the background. Fallon Henley and JC Jane were seen arguing behind the interview here. The TNA star made it clear that he is Mike Santana. He's a proud Boricua from the Bronx, and he's coming after the winner of Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams for the TNA World Championship after tonight. Charlie Dempsey interrupts the proceedings, which Mike Santana did not take kindly to. He said that, you're interrupting my time, and time is money, so we got a problem now. But Tavion Heights seems to step in, and he seems to reach an agreement with Mike Santana to challenge him in it for a singles matchup, saying that Miles Bourne is stepping up for the NQCC tonight, and he wants to step up to Mike for a matchup this Tuesday on NXT. That match will go down on NXT television, or did go down on NXT television by the time you're watching this. So really good stuff there. And Mike Santana, he just comes off like an absolute star. So I think he's going to make the most of all the WWE time that he gets, and I hope it's a lot. Then we got 6-man tag team action, as it was Hank and Tank, the NXT tag team champions, teaming up with Josh Briggs to verse the Culling, Sean Spears, Nico Vance, and Brooks Jensen. Briggs didn't waste any time going after Vance right from the start of the matchup. He floored Vance with a huge clothesline. The NXT tag team champions showed off their teamwork a bit to leave Vance stunned. The trio of Hank, Tank, and Briggs left the Culling rocked with stereo dives to the outside. Vance took back control with a rough Irish Swift on Walker that sent him crashing hard into the ring post. They isolated him for a bit before Hank was able to make the hot tag to Tank. Tank comes in, House of Fire. He unleashes his wrath on the Culling with a diving cannonball to the outside on Vance, followed by a shoulder block to Spears in the ring. Hank and Tank drop Spears with a double superplex at another point in the matchup that really got the crowd into things. But then they got hit with simultaneous splashes from Vance and Jensen. Briggs hit a diving splash on the prone Spears, but found his pin broken up by the other members of the Culling. Jensen caught Ledger with a kick to the face and looked to hit a double team move on Ledger in the form of a double stomp, a dominator combination, but that only got the 2 count when Walker came in and broke up the cover. Briggs with the blind tag as Hank and Tank took out Spears with a shoulder block. Then we get Briggs look to have his former friend dead to rights, but Vance and Easy Dane provided a distraction, and a roll up by Briggs by Jensen almost got the win, but Briggs was able to kick out. The NXT Tag Team Champions followed things up after Briggs hits a big lariat on Jensen. They come in and they hit their sandwich crush and then their double team slam for the 1-2-3. Hank, Tank, and Briggs pick up the victory over the Culling. Post-match, the Culling jump the baby faces. Spears orders Izzy Dane to get a steel chair to finish their assault, but the hand of Yoshihiko Inamura, as he makes his return here, stop Dame from doing so. He comes in with the steel chair and he attacks the Culling to change the tide for the baby faces as him and Briggs embrace and their tag team is reunited. This was kind of this there. So more like a TV matchup. The crowd was hot for it, so I'll give them credit there. The crowd was into things, especially the baby faces, the babyface side. But this was just, I wasn't moved by this. This is not anything that I wouldn't have seen on NXT television, so I wasn't that high on it. I give it 2 3/4 stars. It was just fine. Fine stuff, solid work from everybody involved, but not anything that I think was appropriate for the premium live event stage. Then we go backstage as Ethan Page talks about the upcoming NXT North American Championship match with Ricky Saints on Tuesday's NXT. Ava informed Ethan that he and Saints would be kicking off the show with the winner set to defend the NXT North American Championship at Worlds Collide on June 7th. But that was interrupting Ethan, so Ethan was not too pleased. And then that led into our next matchup, a grudge match. Tony DAngelo versus Shanning Stax Lorenzo. Really good video package going over the past between the two men. DAngelo came in and he was responded to Stax talking trash at the start of the matchup with a big slap to the face, followed by some hard punches. Stax stood on the apron as DAngelo threw him back into the ring and looked to continue the punishment. It was all DAngelo from the opening of this matchup before Stax responded with a kick to the gut and then got his licks in on his former friend. DAngelo countered Stax as he threw him over his shoulder and right over the top rope. At the ringside area, DAngelo threw Stax against the LED boards and right into the ring post afterwards, yelling in Stax's ear, "All you had to do was listen to me." Stax gained the advantage with a sheep shot, and then he hit DAngelo with the drop kick that sent the Dons back against the steel steps to give him firm control. He started targeting DAngelo's ribs for a bit here. Stax wrapped his leg around DAngelo's ribs, and then the body scissors hold, which really kind of took the things to kind of a grinding halt a bit in the matchup. Stax drove his knee to the back of DAngelo's head, the cement shoes, as Vic Joseph called it, only getting a 2 count. DAngelo fought back and threw Stax over his head and then mounted a comeback. He started coming with some hard hits, a spine buster, as he then threw a series of uppercuts to his betrayer's ribs. Stax managed to kick out at 2 on a DAngelo deadlift German suplex. Stax caught DAngelo with a triangle submission, but DAngelo used his strength to power him up for a powerbomb. Stax took advantage once again and sent DAngelo right against the ring post back first as he started working over his ribs once again. He woke up, he dropped DAngelo with a guillotine leg drop across the second rope. Stax tried to look for his crowbar, but it was nowhere to be found as DAngelo was ready for that and just moved it. He took advantage of this. He got some strikes in. Stax tried to beg him off, but to no avail. He dropped him with the bada bing spine buster, but then suddenly Luca Crucifino appeared at ringside to distract DAngelo. DAngelo was confused as he thought Luca had been taken out by Stax, and this allowed Stax to go low behind the referee's back. He then hits him with a running psycho knee to the back of the head. Stax picks up the biggest win of his career over his former mentor and friend, the Don of NXT, Tony DAngelo. The Underboss gets the big win. After the matchup, Luca Crucifino looked on at all of this. He gets into the ring and wanted to embrace Tony D, but Tony pushed him aside and left the ring. This was hard hitting. So I'll give it credit for that, but it just felt like something was missing here. It just really felt like the crowd was not as into it as I thought they would be. They've had a really good storyline going into this matchup, but this was just a basic matchup. It had some hard-hitting times, felt like a grudge match at certain points, but then other points it just felt like a regular TV match. I was highly disappointed. This was the matchup that went way below my expectations for it and really let me down in a way. So give it 2 stars. Wasn't really interested, honestly. Next up was a match I was definitely interested in. NXT Women's Championship up for grabs. This is the only match on this show that I've watched twice. Stephanie Vaquer defending against Jordynne Grace. Stephanie and Jordynne shared a respectful handshake as the bell rang. We then got a test of strength as neither woman could take a clear advantage over the other. Grace took over with a pair of shoulder blocks and followed with an arm wrench. The two competitors then traded pinfall attempts, which led to a stalemate between the two. Grace missed a chop in the corner, which gave Vicare the opening, and she then gained the advantage with a suplex and then a backdrop. She looked to get the devil's kiss on Grace, but Grace was able to roll to the floor. She used her power to get her on her shoulders and then did an electric chair drop on the commentary table before taunting Booker T for his love of the devil's kiss. Grace then threw Vicare into the barricade, and then she brought the champion back into the ring. She applies a Boston Crab, but Vicare was able to reach the ropes just in time. Grace tried to use her strength to great success as she slammed Vicare on her back. World's Strongest Slam, and then an attempted Vader Bomb, though, gave Vicare an opening. She headed to the top rope. She then caught Grace with a rope-assisted armbar and followed up with a springboard crossbody. Vicare had Jordynne prone in the corner and then hit a running Meteora. This left Grace stunned long enough for Vicare to finally get the devil's kiss by Booker T as the crowd chanted on as well. Great. Love that. The crowd was into everything here. Grace wanted to get Vicare in a submission, but the NXT Women's Champion fought out of it. Grace then tanked a strike from Vicare as she then hit a spine buster and then a sit-out package power bomb. That was very unique for a near fall. Vicare was able to kick out as the crowd had a justified "This is awesome" chant. Vicare roared back with a suplex and then a DDT on Jordynne, but that couldn't put her away for the 3. Grace used her power to block an Irish whip attempt, and the action went to the top rope. With Vicare stunned, Grace hits a perfect looking superplex into a juggernaut jackhammer 1-2 kick out. Vicare used a bridge attempt to try for the SVP, but Grace was able to fight out of it. Both women was very good at avoiding the other's finishing move for a large portion of this matchup. We get a wild sequence of counters between the two. Grace looked for the beast mode, juggernaut driver, but Vicare was able to reverse that. A kick to the head by Vicare allowed the NXT champion a moment to create some needed separation. Grace grabbed Vicare from ringside and wanted to hit a power slam on the outside, but she got shoved right into the barricade and it all broke apart. That gave Vicare the opening to put her back in the ring. She has the SVP, which you thought that would be over. No one's kicked out of SVP. But Jordynne Grace does, to the shock and amazement of Vicare as the crowd is going ballistic here. Vicare and Grace both are battle worn at this point. They start trading back and forth strikes. In the corner, Vicare twisted Grace's leg with a dragon screw. She goes to the top rope, but Grace is able to cut her off. Vicare and Grace are fighting for position until Vicare is able to trip her and she falls to the mat. And then Vicare follows up with a beautiful looking spiral tap. 1, 2, 3. Stephanie Vicare retains the NXT Women's Championship in an absolute barn burner. This was a great match. These two ladies went out there, just had splendid chemistry with one another. It's just excellent in-ring work, back and forth action, the strength of Jordynne Grace meshing so well with the hard-hitting technical precision of Stephanie Vicare mixed with her high flying and everything else that she does. She's just a total package and seems like she's going to be a future star on the main roster. Post-match, Vicare is celebrating when we see Dalise and Chick Tormenta were in the front row, keeping a close eye on the victorious Vicare. And then later in the show, we caught up with Stephanie Vicare arguing with Chick Tormenta and Dalise backstage. They're getting in each other's faces until Ava has to separate them, and then out of nowhere JC Jane cuts in and slaps the taste out of Stephanie Vicare's mouth before they're pulled apart from one another to set up Stephanie Vicare versus JC Jane on NXT. And spoiler alert, because I'm filming this on Wednesday, I didn't want to spoil anything with Mike Santana, but spoiler alert, we have a new NXT Women's Champion, and no, it's not Jordynne Grace, it's JC Jane winning on last night's NXT. That shocked the hell out of me. I was absolutely in disbelief at that result when I watched it this morning, and hey, it's a whole new world. Corey Haynes of PWN and Bodyslam.net reported on social media following the show that Stephanie Vicare is reportedly on her way to Monday Night Raw, while Jordynne Grace is on her way to SmackDown. So the NXT Women's Division is going to be so brand new with a new champion, with so many other women jockeying from positions. Your Jada Parkers, your Lola Vices, your Thea Hales, your Sol Rukas, your Zarias are all going to be pushed up a bit. Lash Legends, another one as well, going to be pushed up a bit because the top 4 ladies at the start of the year, or at the beginning of the year, which was Julia, Roxanne Perez, Jordynne Grace, and Stephanie Vicare, are all going to be on the main roster. So big changes are coming for NXT, and this was a great season finale for it because Stephanie Vicare and Jordynne Grace absolutely stole the show. This was arguably the best women's matchup of the weekend, on a weekend filled of amazing women's wrestling, between the opener on this show with Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan, the absolutely terrific matchup between Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter at Double or Nothing, a very underrated great matchup with Timeless Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa, and probably more throughout the wrestling world because I haven't watched everything. I know Marigold had a great show of their 1-year anniversary this weekend as well. I'll probably talk more about that on Saturday on the flagship. But in a weekend of such fantastic women's wrestling, This may have been the best match of them all. It's very arguable between this and the Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Moné matchup from what I saw this weekend, but 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars, no doubt. Tremendous matchup between these two ladies. They just had really well done chemistry. The crowd was into everything. They left it all in the ring and clearly was head and shoulders above everything else on this show. There's no question. Really well done pacing and timing throughout the contest, and everything looked smooth and fluid throughout this one. It was a real battle of a war of attrition between the two ladies, and they delivered a huge matchup on this show. Then we get a little bit something different as we come to the ring, and NXT North American champion Ricky Saints is out for an interview. Saints talks about how Ethan Page must be obsessed with him, and that he was tired of Page getting in his business, which meant that if he had to start NXT on Tuesday against him to end this business with Page, then so be it. As the subject turned to the NXT North American Championship title defense at Worlds Collide, we get Ethan Page tried to sneak up on Ricky Saints from behind, which led to a brief brawl between the two. Ricky was able to dispatch him from the ring as security is holding back Ethan Page. Ricky comes off the top rope with a big dive to the outside to end this little brawl here and stand tall in the ring. And yes, it was scheduled for NXT this week. The opening matchup, Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page. And another spoiler alert, we have a new NXT North American champion. Yes, 2 big title change on this NXT episode that was supposed to be in Tampa before the ticket sales required them to go back to the PC. But they had 2 huge title changes with Ricky Saints losing the NXT North American Championship to Ethan Page. And I'll let you trolls say what you want to say about Ricky Saints losing this quickly into his title run. He only won it 2 months ago. What are we doing? What are we doing? Is Ricky going to the main roster? We shall see. NXT Championship was next as Oba Femi defends against NQCC's own Miles Bourne. Miles Bourne's biggest match of his career, and he was game and ready for this one. Bourne and Femi had a test of strength early on, culminating with Bourne landing on his feet as Oba tried to use his strength and throw him high. Bourne seemed to have Femi flat-footed with a drop kick, which prompted the NXT champion to respond with a rageful shoulder block. He then sent Bourne into the corner and started thrusting his ribs with his shoulder. Bourne refused to back down, though. Bourne soars off the top rope with a crossbody, but Femi responded by throwing his forward across the top rope. Femi slowed down the pace to his advantage with a suplex and then began to work over Bourne a bit. Femi went after the back of Bourne with clubbering blows as the fans were split on who they wanted to see come out of this one the victor. Femi seemed to relish in punishing Bourne as the assault continued. Very cocky version of Oba in this one, which led to a nice little comeback from the underdog challenger. The comeback was all too fleeting as Femi once again made a target of his back, hitting him with a massive backbreaker. Femi nearly took Bourne's head off with a vicious clothesline, but Bourne refused to stay down. Femi managed to escape a sleeper attempt by Bourne by ramming his back into the turnbuckle. Femi wanted to hit a suplex from the apron, but Bourne blocked it and hit his 3rd drop kick of the matchup. He just kept catching him with these beautiful drop kicks out of nowhere. Femi applied the champion chin lock on Bourne, but he couldn't hold it for long. Femi's attempt at a shoulder charge was missed when Bourne dodged at the last second, which sent Femi crashing into the ring post. This gave Bourne the opening to finally take advantage with a big dive to the outside, a tope con hilo. A diving crossbody by Bourne to Femi, and it wasn't enough, so he started hitting some big moves. He hits the snap power slam for a near fall. He missed a moonsault attempt, but Femi was able to counter that. But then he countered Femi. Another set of counters allowed for Femi to catch Bourne with a choke slam, but Bourne was able to kick out. Bourne stunned Femi with a DDT in the middle of the ring, but he couldn't connect with a big splash. Femi's attempt at the fall from grace was countered into a Hurricane Rana pin. Bourne delivered a powerful looking body in Femi with a German suplex. He took flight with a big diving splash, but was only able to get a 2. Blow for blow, Femi and Bourne were going back and forth before he caught Femi with a 4th dropkick of the matchup. Roaring uppercut from Femi, though, pop-up uppercut, and then he followed up with the fall from grace. 1, 2, Bourne kicked out at 2. Femi was angered by this. He tried to rock Bourne with some European uppercuts, found himself in a roll-up attempt, and nearly lost the matchup there. But then Femi threw Bourne like a sack of potatoes, followed it up with 2 back-to-back fall from grace power bombs. 1, 2, 3. Femi retains the NXT Championship in what I thought was the match that exceeded my expectations the most. I thought that Miles Bourne had a hell of a performance here. Very intense, heated title match here, and really was Bourne's best performance of his career so far. And even Femi shows his respect to Miles Bourne after leaving the ring. He just had these great comeback attempts and hope spots that really made the fans in attendance bite on the near falls and had you engage into what was going on. The power of Femi versus the resourcefulness and the technical ability of Miles Bourne made for a perfect matchup. And Femi's just delivering time after time again in these NXT Championship matchups where, you might have some low expectations going in, but he always is able to exceed that. And when he has high expectation, he always delivers on that. Femi is a great NXT champion, and Miles Bourne, he's going to be a star. That boy going to be a star. I give this one 3 3/4 stars. Really good matchup. We went backstage. That was when we saw the Stephanie Vaquer interaction with the AAA talent and JC Jane. They went over the lineup for NXT. And then finally, we had the NXT main event for Battleground for the TNA World Championship. Hendry going one-on-one with Trick Williams. Great video package at the start with AJ Styles voicing over some clips of current WWE stars who have held the TNA World Championship and the history of the title and why it's so important. Great stuff by AJ here. Then we had the crowd was ballistic. They went crazy at the start of this matchup, erupting in cheers for this historic main event. Williams shoved Hendry aside and got sent to the outside for his troubles. Hendry followed with a big dive to the outside, taking out Trick. He flattened Trick with that one and then brought him back inside and maintained control with a shoulder block and then a stalling suplex. The challenger, though, responded with a fall-away slam, a kip-up, and then Williams mocked Hendry with his signature pose and followed by a bookend for a 2 count. Very nicely done by Trick money here. Then we get Williams headed up top, but Hendry followed him up. He hits a super fall-away slam, and then Hendry used his speed to catch Trick with a couple of pin attempts, but the challenger was able to kick out of each of them. Williams and Hendry exchanged strikes aplenty as Williams delivered a Booker T-like ass kick and then did the hand up and looked at Booker as he did the spinneroonie as Booker was cheering him on. But he walked right into a rock bottom by Hendry, basically a callback to the SummerSlam 2001 finish. I love that. That was very well done by both men. Challenger got the better of Hendry with a series of kicks, and then he followed up with a blockbuster, but Hendry was able to roll through and use his strength to slam Williams down right in the middle of the ring. Williams sent Hendry outside and threw him into the steel steps. Inside the ring, Williams kept up the control with an unusual neck breaker on Hendry. He then rolled under Hendry's clothesline and hit a proper neck breaker, only got a 2 count there. Trick squeezed away at Hendry with some body scissors, but the Scotsman was able to power out of it. Both men struggled to get to their feet as Hendry got up first and started hitting Williams with a flurry of offense. He hits his fall-away slam and hits his signature pose. Hendry connects with the standing ovation, but Trick is too close to the ropes. He gets his foot on the bottom rope. Hendry looked to hit the attitude adjustment after looking at his hands like the "you can't see me," but Williams was able to escape. The fight headed out of the ring where Williams threw Hendry headfirst into the base of the steel steps. Trick followed up with a Uranagi bookend through the announce table. He followed that up with a trick shot knee inside the ring, but was only able to get a 2. Trick then introduced the TNA World Championship. You can looking to use it as a weapon. The referee was able to stop him, but then had to drop the title down as Hendry tried for a roll up and only got a 2. Williams escapes the standing ovation with a thumb to the eye. Then he gives him a flapjack, and Hendry goes face first into the TNA World Championship. Williams follows with the trick shot knee. 1, 2, 3. History is made. Trick Williams is your new TNA World Champion, and a very, very intriguing result. Is something that I called weeks ago. A lot of people called it. Seemed like the right thing to do here to change things up and to really take forward and progress this partnership between WWE and TNA. A WWE star holding the TNA World Championship is a huge, newsworthy, historic moment in the both companies' history, as Trick Williams becomes the first man to hold TNA gold. He poses with the title, brags in front of Trick with it, and a great way to close the show with a stunning title change. This match was actually pretty good. I really liked it. I thought that this was one that slightly exceeded my expectation. Not as much as the last match with Bourne and Femi, but a good main event that showed why both men are considered superstars and should be on the main roster by next year. Both of them, Joe Hendry and Trick Williams. I give this one 3.5 stars. Really delivered a really good matchup in the closer to the show. But that was the end of WWE NXT Battleground. I want to know what you guys think. If you haven't already, in the live chat or in the comments down below, let us know your match of the night, your MVP, your LVP, whether you gave this show a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, and out of 10, what did you give the show? For me, for NXT WWE Battleground, in 3, 2, 1, gonna get a thumbs up from me. I thought this was a really fun show. Had some good to great wrestling a part of it. Some not so good wrestling in the middle portion with the 2 matches in the middle. The 6-man tag and Stax versus Tony D did not meet up to my expectations and what I think is the quality of an NXT premium live event. I didn't think those 2 matchups really delivered that, but everything else was good to great on this show. Match of the night, very easily, it's Jordynne Grace and Stephanie Vicare. Absolutely superb encounter between those 2 ladies who are going to be a success on the main roster. MVP for the show, it's got to be Trick Daddy. It's got to be Trick Williams winning the TNA World Championship for sure. Honorable mention to Bourne, who exceeded expectations, as well as Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordynne for what would have been a show stealer in the opener. LVP for the show, it's got to be TNA. TNA, y'all are being bitched out in this partnership. I mean, I'm just going to say that. Honorable LVP to Stax and Tony D, because like the 6-man tag, I expected it. It felt like a TV match setup, and it was a TV match on a premium live event. I expected more from Stax and Tony D, but TNA is a bigger loser on this show, so. Not Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry was in a main event for a WWE PLE. He's getting ready to get moved to WWE, so he's not a loser here. You guys are TNA. Sorry. Not sorry. And then out of 10, I'm going to give this show a 7.5 out of 10. Good stuff. Like I said, there was some stuff that didn't really fit on this show, but overall, a very fun show, which was really hampered slightly by being head-to-head with Double or Nothing. When you're going against an all-timer show, a near 10 out of 10 show, and you just give us a fun, good show, it's going to look inferior, and all the news and attention has gone to Double or Nothing over Battleground. So it's really a detriment that WWE is putting on NXT, making them the counter-programming brand where they always have to go head-to-head with AEW pay-per-views, where a lot of times they're not going to deliver. If it was Heat Wave from last year, Heat Wave could go head-to-head with Double or Nothing because that's an all-timer NXT Premium Live event. This one, it was not that, which AEW Double or Nothing was. But That's just my opinion. I want to hear from all of you. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about WWE NXT Battleground, giving your match of the night, LVP, MVP, out of 10. What did you give the show? That's my opinion. You can have yours. Just don't be a dick about it, please. Like this video, share this video, subscribe if you are new. I will be back with you tomorrow, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, with AE Ramble reviewing to AEW Dynamite from tonight. So go over and check that out. Me and Jimmy Macaram. Go over to patreon.com/True Heat, where we got our TNA Under Siege review. That's going to be posted up tomorrow as well. And check out all the great content we got on the channel right now, like the True Hill Heat flagship podcast, True Hill Heat 330 from this past Saturday. Check out our AEW Double or Nothing review with myself, the True Jaw Judge, Jay News, and Professor Chris. One of our best pay-per-view review roundtables that we've ever done. Go over and check it out. Thank you so much to everyone who has already. And for me, y'all know the deal. Thank you so much for watching. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been our WWE NXT Battleground view. We